At this point, the Alter Rebbe has discussed 13 parakim on mitzvah b'lei kavod and b'lei neshama, the need for chayes and yiddishkeit. And he finished off the last peirik with shuv liyachad, that you should never let the kavana override the emphasis on asiyah. Now he's going back to Dira B'Tachtein, Perek Lamed Hey, Lamed Vav, and Lamed Zayin. The kasha that the Rebbe asked at the beginning of Perek Lamed Hey is basically, why did the Eibishter make that most Yidden are lega larik, uses a lush, we're fighting with a Yetzer Hara, and we're going to spend the whole life fighting with Yetzer Hara. We're never going to win it. We're going to finish. Why did the Eibishter make it so hard? That's Perek Lamed Hey. And the Alter Rebbe said, because the Yagiyah that we have, which we never conquered Yetzer Hara completely, is mevarer the nefesh habahamis, the guf, chelke ba'olam, until the whole world. This is how Perek Lamed Hey and Lamed Zayin talk. Dira b'tachtein. Tzad the neshama, you should take a win. You should kill your Yetzer Hara once and for all. The fight should be over. And you should have gilui alakus. But then there wouldn't be the period of nefesh habahamis, the guf and chelke ba'olam. And this is the Rebbe starts talking about the teisves beer tevas la seise. That's how Perek Lamed Hey begins. Emphasis on la seise. And he brought the Zohar. And the Zohar gives a posuk, V'shemen areishcha leyachsel, Shlomo malkat sofcha. The idea of you have to have fuel to feed in a neshama. And he translates that this fuel means mitzvahs and ma'asim teva. Right? The eid haneid is the neshama, the light of the neshama. To keep the eid and neshama, the guf, you have the V'shemen areishcha mitzvahs and ma'asim teva. And the Alter Rebbe says a gewaldige word, in Perek Lamed Hey, he says, a neshama is a lakus. As connected as a neshama is to the Eibishter, even of a tzaddik gomer, Eived ad Hashem, beyiro, ba'ava, b'tanugim, he uses the lashon yesh mi she'oyev. Even a tzaddik gomer is yesh mi she'oyev. How do you achieve a bittul to the Eibishter completely? Through mitzvahs. There's no way a person will totally bittul to the Eibishter until he's doing mitzvahs. So there's a convergence of two nekudas. One nekuda is the struggle that we have is mevarer on nefesh habahamis, aguf and chelke ba'olam, not just the neshama. And number two, as close as a neshama is to Hashem, mitzad being a neshama, it's yesh mi she'oyev. Through the bittul of Torah and mitzvahs, you have a bittul atzmi. But if you have a bittul atzmi and Torah, only your neshama is bittul to the Eibishter, and you live with machshava. When you have this bittul to the Eibishter and Torah and mitzvahs, you mevatel also your nefesh habahamis and your guf, the levushim of dibar and maise, and the chalke ba'olam. And the term that he uses is shchina. You want to be mamshech shchina. Shchina means alakus, that's alakus b'yetz. A neshama, as batal as it is yesh mi she'oyev. When you do Torah and mitzvahs, you bring down shchina. This bittul that you have in putting aside your interest and doing Ratzon Elyon brings down shchina. Through Torah, you bring it down shchina only to your machshava, to your neshama, and through mitzvahs, you bring down shchina also to guf and the chalke ba'olam. And this is why the Eibishter makes it hard. So we should be able to have this birur. So now he's going to go back to talking about Shechina. But keep in mind, what is the background? The background is that a neshama is very connected to the Eibishter, but it's yesh mi she'oyev. True bittul is only through Torah and through mitzvahs. But through Torah you're bringing it down only to the mayach, and through mitzvahs you bring it down to the guf nefesh habahamis chalke ba'olam. Right? And what are you bringing down? The atzmos of Elokus, which is called Shechina. And this is the Dira B'Tachtenim half. In other words, we're now putting aside the whole idea of mitzvah b'lei kavana, guf b'lei neshama, and we're focusing on mitzvah. Not talking about avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. We're talking about the idea that when you're doing a mitzvah, there's bittul, and because there's bittul, you're no longer yesh mi she'oyev. You take a bittul b'etzem talakus, and you mamshech the atzmos of alakus, which is called shechina. Perek Nanalef. And the first two shiurim, that means Friday and Shabbos, is a mashal. It's probably the longest mashal in the whole of Tanya. Hine. We have to explain better the language, the expression of the Yenuka of the boy, mentioned in Lamed Hey, that V'shemen areishcha layachaser, you want the Shechina to come down. For this, it's not enough to have an neshama, but you have to have the bittul of Torah and mitzvahs, which is mamshech Shechina. Says the Rebbe, tzarech lavayat chila. We have to explain first, lahav and k'tzas, to explain just a little bit, inyan, the idea of hashras, hashchina, this is the magic word, the manifestation of Shechina. That Jehoiasa Shoyre Beis Kedesh HaKadoshim was resting in the Kedesh HaKadoshim. V'chein kol mokum in every place. Hashras HaShechina, the Shechina rests. The kasha is ma'in yoneh. What is the idea of the Hashras HaShechina in the Beis HaMikdash? What is the idea of the Hashras HaShechina in any place? When you learn Torah and do a mitzvah, you bring down the Shechina. Halei malak al aretz kevede. The Eibishter's glory is all over. V'lei sasar ponim in, there's no place where Lakus is not. Now there's a diuk. L'chedi, he says malak al aretz kevede goes on mamalak alam. L'chedi, he should have said as a Shmai Vesaris Ani Moli, which goes on Seviv. But in Tanya, upon him, it's not so big deal. Bottom line is Elokus is all over. So what do you mean you're bringing down Shechina? And of course the teretz is going to be Bittel and Gilui, but take your time. To explain this, you have to give a mashal. The pasuk says, from my flesh, from my goof, my gashmis, I could see godliness. So the human being's goof is going to become a mashal for Seder Ishtalshalos, and by understanding the human being's goof and its relationship with the neshama, we're going to be able to understand this idea of Hashras HaShechina. And I can't hold myself in, so I'll tell you the nekudah, that the place where the Shechina rests is in the Mayach. This concept of Shechina, which is an etzem of Elokus, is in the Mayach. And the nimsh of the Mayach is going to be the Beis HaMikdash, as you'll see in Perek Nun Gimel. But in the meantime, let's learn the mashal. Okay, so let's put aside the relationship to Lamed Hey, Lamed Vav, Lamed Zayin. Let's put aside the relationship to what's going to follow in the Nalf Beis Gimel. Let's learn a mashal from Alten Rebbe about the relationship between Neshama and the Guf. And he says as follows: Shekmei Nishmas HaAdam, the soul of a person. It's taka true that he mamala kol ramach evri aguf, it fills up all the 248 limbs of a human body from the head till the foot. But Yafal Pekain at the same time, Iker mashchena v'hashra'asa, the primary place where it sits and where it rests, is in the brain. Now I want you to see the word hashra'ah. The opposite of the word hashra'ah is the word hislapshus. Hislapshus would mean gili and tzimtzum. Hashra'ah would mean a hamshacha and a gili without tzimtzum. So the key word here is hashra'ah, like the hashra'ah is hashchina. It says the Rebbe v'hashra'asi b'mech is in the brain. Now but then, umehameach, from the brain, mispashetas, it expands to all the limbs. B'chol in each limb, mekabel mimena, is receiving through the mind chayes v'keach, vitality and power, haro oiloi, which is appropriate for that limb. Lefi mizge, according to the mixture of that limb, utchonasi, and the character of that limb. Ha'ayin lida is the eye to see, va'ayzon l'shmaya, and the ear to hear, v'ha'peh l'daber, and the mouth to speak, v'ha'raglayim l'haleich, and the feet to walk. Kinira b'chush, as we see in fact. We see in fact this idea that the whole neshama goes into the brain, and the brain is a distribution center, and an integration center, it's a nerve center, it feels the whole body and it governs and unifies the whole body. Shabemeach, margish, kol hanifal, the brain feels everything that's happening, but amach, evidim, and all 248 limbs, v'chol hakedes esim, everything that's happening with them. Why? Because the whole neshama goes into the mayach, and the mayach is the distribution center. V'hine, ein shine kabos hakeches v'achayes, shebevri aguf, this idea that the neshama breaks up to be distinct and specific to each strength and each limb in the body, that each part of the body should have a different amount of chayes. Min neshama mitzad atzmo muhus, the neshama in its essence, and by itself is not divided up into ramach and shasach. Certainly not divided up into physical ramach and shasach. In other words, you cannot say about the neshama by itself that the essence of the neshama is mischalek ramach halokim shenim, divided up into 248 distinct parts that are mislapshin, that are revealed. There's the word hislapshus, by the way, which is the opposite of the word hashra, but amach mekemis in 248 different parts of the body. Kefit sir chelke mekemis evdi aguf, according to the form and the division of parts of the limbs of the body. Says the Rebbe, I want you to know, the neshama goes into a guf, it splits, but the splitting of the neshama is not in the neshama by itself. Because if we were to say that the neshama in Gan Eden already has 248 visible, distinct parts, it would turn out that Atzmusa Mahusa, the very essence of the neshama, the way it is in Gan Eden, is already Mitsuya B'tzir Gashmi, it already has a physical form, or the Mus, Vitavnis, and an image and a gestalt. The difference between Tzir, the Mus, and Tavnis is a very big question, but we'll leave it alone. Ketavnis Aguf Chas V'Sholom, according to the physical likeness of the body. You cannot say that a neshama in Gan Eden has pieces. Certainly not physical pieces. So the neshama is coming into the guf. When the neshama comes into the guf, two things we know. Number one, it's going into the brain. Number two, from the brain it's going to be distributed to the whole person. The proof is that the brain is aware of the whole body. But you should understand that the neshama, as it went into the brain, didn't have 613 parts, it was one. The division comes from the body. Although this is not so simple. Let's read it inside. Ella, but rather, Kula Etzem Echad Ruchni. The entire neshama in Gan Eden is one essence. Again, the word essence is useless, but we'll use it anyway. Ruchni, that's spiritual. Pachat, that's plain. Umufshet Mkotzir Gashmi, totally removed from any kind of physical form. Umebechinas Geder, Umebechinas Vegeder Moken. And from the idea of spatial divisions. One of the aspects of the human body is that every piece of the body is in a different space. Right? This pinky is here, and this ring finger is here, and this zeres is here, and so on and so forth. This etzba is here, and this good. Each one has a different space. In Gan Eden, there's no mokum. There's certainly no mokum gashmi. So since there's no Mokum Gashmi, you cannot say that the Neshama has Mokum divisions, or Umido Gvul Gashmi, or a measure and a limitation that's physical. Mitzad Mehusa Vatzmus, and the essence of the Neshama. If you meet the Neshama in its essence, you don't find any division of space, any division of physicality, any limitation of physicality. It's impossible to say that b'mehusa v'atzmusa, that in the essence of the neshama, by itself, as it is in Gan Eden, loima, to say that there's more neshama in the brain, yesim than there is in the foot. Since if you would meet the neshama in Gan Eden, you would find that the essence of the neshama has no category and divisions of space, or gvul and a limitation, gashmi, that's physical. Rak, but rather, the neshama is absolutely one. And the neshama, the mashal for it is a circle. No middle, no beginning, no end. Now, but then, the neshama comes into the guf, goes into the brain, right? The brain then distributes it into 613 parts. The neshama that came into the brain is one, and the brain is doing the distribution. So he says, I want you to know, before the neshama came into the brain, and as the neshama is in the brain, it continues to be one. That sounds like a neshama in Gan Eden is absolutely without any detail whatsoever, right? Now we're given the other side of the coin, rak, but there's another side to the coin. And the other side of the coin is, there are actually 613 strengths and lives that are hidden in the essence of the neshama as a part of its unity. And this is where Mendele, there's a difference between the Eibishter and the neshama. Hashem creates the world, there's no world in the Eibishter, right? The neshama comes into the guf and divides up into 613 parts. The neshama in Gan Eden doesn't have 613 parts. Says the Rebbe, no. It doesn't and it does. The neshama in Gan Eden doesn't have actual 613 parts. It has possible 613 parts. The neshama is designed to be one, and is also designed to eventually come into a guf. In other words, you shouldn't think, on the one hand, the neshama has no connection to guf and division. On the other hand, you have to say that the connection between the neshama and the guf is a pneumistic connection. The neshama has the possibility of going in a neshama way, in a pneumistic way, into each limb. So he says the other side of this coin is, you have to say on the other hand, that the 613 strengths and vitalities, lives, included in the one neshama, in the essence of the neshama, to go out into actualization and revelation, from the hidden state, is to give life to Ramach, the 248 limbs and its organs, the 365 veins, nerves, sinews, whatever the case may be of the body, by manifesting, first of all, benefesh achayunis in the animal soul, that also has 248 organs and 365 nerves and veins, and through the nefesh habahamis, the nefesh halakis has a connection to the guf. Now, I will say this to you: the Alter Rebbe here is talking on two sides of his mouth. On the one hand, he's saying that the neshama is plain. On the other hand, he's saying it's not mamish plain. The lumdus of this is a lumdus, but the bottom line is that we're saying that the neshama's entry into the guf is a pneumistic entry. If the neshama didn't have parts, when the neshama enters the guf, it's like electricity. There's no real union between the pinky and the chayes of the pinky. The Rebbe says two hafchir. It's not like the Eibishter. The Eibishter is called Sevav Kalam. The neshama is a moshe from a Malach Kalam. The neshama in Gan Eden is taka one. But when it comes into the guf and it splits up, you see that it was designed to be able to go into the specific limbs of the body. So we're taka saying two hafchir. On the one hand, we're saying one. On the other hand, we're saying taka it's pnimius.